it's so easy for us to find faults and kind of make the flaws so much bigger than they really are, or just kind of focus on the things that are not right. And I think it also comes from this false sense of perfection that we kind of hold ourselves up to, saying, unless it is perfect, like it's not worth anything. So a lot of changing that attitude or changing that perspective has truly helped me in feeling empowered every single day. And it's not like only when I achieve something, only when something is 100% do I feel like, yeah, I did something. I feel like just that little shift has made things so much better. And I just love spending every day with myself now.
Welcome to the Sum of Everything podcast, where we discuss a little bit of a lot of topics, ranging from spirituality to finance and everything in between. I'm your host, Aishwarya, a serial hobbyist with an unquenchable thirst for learning, especially through new experiences. In this podcast, we will scratch every itch of curiosity, explore various perspectives, step out of our comfort zone, and experience some of everything. Because after all, we are just that, a sum of all our experiences. So, let's dive right in. Hello, and welcome back to the Sum of Everything podcast. Man, it feels like after an endless January, February passed by in the blink of an eye. I don't know about you, but I was so busy and so many things happened in February that I just can't believe that 28 days passed by in the click of a finger. But we are now in March, and the first thing that strikes anyone when you talk about March, at least if you're not an ICSE kid with intense school nostalgia, who studied Julius Caesar and always thinks of Ides of March, the first thing you do think of in March is International Women's Day, which happens to fall on 8th of March. So with Women's Day being just around the corner of when this episode is going to come out, I thought the right thing to do would be to talk about honoring the women in our lives. And generally around Women's Day, the buzzword is usually women empowerment. I remember having to write essays about what women empowerment meant and what it meant to me specifically during school. And I can't really remember what I wrote much at that time because I don't think I fully grasped the meaning of this praise. To be fair, who really can when they're in their early teens and just trying to figure life out, let alone figure out the socio-economic dynamic that comes with being a woman in today's day and age? But over time, I think I'd like to believe that I have understood and grasped the meaning a little bit better. And I think women empowerment also means different things to different people depending on the context of the society that they've grown up in and the context of their individual lives. For instance, it could be something as small as stealing yourself time in the day to grab a cup of coffee quietly before you begin your day and attack it. Just getting yourself revved up for the day. Or it could even mean taking kickboxing classes as a form of power, as a form of self-defense. Or you could even say that empowerment to you means working at a macro level to ensure that women and other disadvantaged groups are empowered in whatever way possible to build a better life for themselves and step into their own. It could be any number of things and a combination of things even. But for me, empowerment has come in different forms. Being financially independent, for instance, something my mother insisted on while growing up. Not having to rely on anybody else for money. And how this translates is that I am today self-reliant. I don't have to ask anybody before I make purchases for myself. I can wear any amount of makeup I want. I can dress myself in clothes that make me feel confident in my own skin. I can attend dance classes and try out new forms of activities or without having to seek anybody's permission or approval. Empowerment to me is something that allows me a semblance of control over my own life. And while it does come with a certain amount of reminding yourself that you do have the power, that you don't need to rely on anybody else, sometimes you might need a little bit of a nudge, a reminder that you are a strong, independent, confident woman who may have forgotten aspects of herself over the course of time. To illustrate this, let me tell you a small story. Some time ago, I was talking to a friend who is currently in the midst of wedding planning. We were talking about the outfits she was planning to wear, and I sensed that she wasn't as excited as she used to be about dressing up. I've known this friend for a while now, and she had the sweetest sense of fashion. She fancied herself a lady in the 60s with beautiful flowy skirts and the silhouettes that were complementary to her hourglass figure. Dressing up like she was in the 60s was totally her thing and very reminiscent of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And if you haven't watched that show, definitely catch it. It's a brilliant, brilliant show. But anyway, when we were having this conversation, she confided in me that after the pandemic and after a lot of things that she went through during that time that really took a toll on her mental health wise, she had pretty much given up on the excitement that was very intrinsically a part of her about getting dressed up, about being in touch with fashion trends. I remember that she used to browse through the latest trends season after season, see what she could emulate, and if she needed to purchase a few things that she could add to her wardrobe. Nothing ostentatious, nothing extra, nothing expensive, but just some things that she could make a part of her wardrobe so she could be current and trendy. And I really admired that about her, among many, many other things that I did admire about her. But this is something that I actually try to emulate in my own life. I try to take in and see what I could pick up from fashion trends, which, up until that time at least, I was woefully ignorant and frankly didn't care at all about. But the fact that she had chosen not to continue with that, it made me feel a little sad because it was so characteristic of her. So I reminded her. I told her that I had learned to understand fashion from her, to see what was in style and what I could emulate and make part of my wardrobe. I reminded her that she had told me that people in her office, her colleagues, used to expect her to come dressed in a certain way and she would never disappoint. I'd like to believe that made her think because shortly after, she sent me a picture of her wearing these whimsy, cute stockings that she had got for herself with a note that said, "Thank you for pushing me back into this." Now, why that is important is because a lot of times, how you dress is a very important part of how you see yourself. And in her case, she always was a strong woman, an independent, a confident, a smart girl. She just needed a little bit of a reminder to make her feel that confidence again. So, empowerment does not necessarily need to be something that is internal or something that is derived from inside of you always. A lot of times, in fact, I believe that you might have to be reminded, nudged in the right direction with the help of friends, your family, your girlfriends, that you are empowered, that you have the tools, that you have everything it takes to view yourself in a particular way. Then I thought that maybe we're taking the word empowerment and women empowerment a little too on the face of it and for granted, especially us younger millennials and Gen Zs who have grown up in a liberalized world with the internet and all the benefits that social media has to offer. Information is freely available in today's era, and well, knowledge is power, right? I remember in the conversation that I had in one of the earlier episodes, we talked about the fact that we didn't even know when we were 15, 16 years old that the development of the prefrontal cortex at the age of 25 was a thing which completely changed the perspective of a person. And I believe social media has a large role to play for the information dissemination that has led to such widespread awareness of so many different issues. That's largely why we even understand what women empowerment is. But what about women who didn't have this privilege? Women for whom social media became a part of their daily lives well into adulthood and motherhood. What did they think of empowerment? How did they view this? I've had interactions with people who are largely my mother's age and belong to that generation. People who may have been homemakers or even women who have gone out and earned a living, who have confessed that they have forgotten what their own likes and dislikes have been in their quest to focus their entire energy on their family and raising their children. They've sometimes forgotten something as simple as what they used to like to eat. And this came as a big shock to me. How could you forget yourself to such an extent where you don't remember simple pleasures and simple joys? But it seemed to be more common than I expected. And I thought that maybe a good exercise would be to see what they think of women empowerment now. What do women of that generation believe to be empowering to them in their daily lives? So I did the best thing I could, and I asked 6 kick ass women that I personally know, love, and admire what empowerment means to them and how they empower themselves in their daily lives. And this is what they had to say.
Hi. So, first and foremost, the word empowerment foxed me completely and it forced me to ask the meaning. So, once I understood the meaning of it, I said, okay, this is what I want to say about myself. In the initial years, way back in my 20s and all, I was very naive and introverted when I was married. I learned a lot from my husband in the initial years. Everything was a learning for me, and I absorbed like a sponge. And when the children were born and while raising them, I also learned with them and I grew with them, grew up with them. Okay, literally. Now, then there came a time when I realized that life was not just about marriage, raising kids, in laws, family, and all that. And I wanted to do something, achieve something, just to prove to myself that I'm capable of this, whatever it is. Then I suddenly realized that tutoring or teaching something comes naturally to me. And I started tutoring students. And then one after the other, the success that these children started seeing in their educational progress was proof enough that I could achieve something. And this journey still continues and it gives me immense satisfaction. Then came COVID. During this period, a lot of anxiety happened for various reasons. And then I stumbled upon crocheting. This again was introduced to me by my daughter. This crocheting is something I realized that I took to it naturally like a fish takes to water. I remembered that as a child, I had actually learned it long back and I had completely forgotten about it. So after the initial hesitant steps towards crocheting, I made a scarf that was already like a spider, a spider and a worm and all. But then it brought back the confidence in me that I am cut out for it. I could actually do a great job. So one after another, I started making small items like scarves, and then slowly the confidence came in saying that I can maybe even start a small business. And then the rest is history. Today I have a small crochet business. I realized I have the talent, the patience, and the perseverance for this. Every single project gives me great satisfaction and it gladdens me no end. Another thing that I always feel these days that I have started doing is every day morning with my cup of coffee, I come to the balcony and sit. And I have only myself for company. Myself, my thoughts, maybe my phone, maybe a YouTube tutorials on crocheting. All of this. I just don't budge from my place for about an hour or so. It's my time. Then kitchen takes over and then I finish all the work and then I can't wait to get back into crocheting, which is my passion currently. I also ensure that I take good care of my health. No compromises there. I eat right, exercise sufficiently, enough to stay fit and stay healthy. I guess if this is all empowerment, then so be it.
So for Anuradha, empowerment means having the time to devote to oneself, whether that be in the form of hobbies, following your passions, and taking care of yourself both mentally and physically. For Bharti, however, it goes a little bit beyond this. It includes breaking away from the stereotypical norms that society has placed on a woman. Here's what she had to say.
According to me, women empowerment is that process where you release the woman firstly from the narrow thinking and the foundation of the cliche thought. A female can't do this. A female can't go there. This is impossible for a woman without a man's support. It is only the woman's duty to do this, etc. etc. When talking about what do I do to empower the female within me in my daily life, well, I try to revive everything in my life that is close to my heart. Do all those things which knowingly or unknowingly I wanted to do, but never gave it a serious thought. For once, we all women need to place the women within ourselves before anybody else. Give the women within ourselves a priority. Breaking away the age old thinking of husband, in laws, and kids should always be the first priority in women's life. Think about yourself first for a change. Try to bring in that change within yourself, and you'll find that you are empowering yourself, and thereby women empowerment is being progressed and you are supporting women empowerment.
Shilpa goes a step further and says that women empowerment is about respecting yourselves, your individuality, and everything that you are capable of. And the best way to do this is to show up and demand equal opportunities. This is what she said.
I think this is one topic that is widely discussed, and frankly, I don't even know what is it that the women out there are asking for. But I know one thing for sure. Every woman on this planet yearns for a little respect. How do you think we as women can earn that? It's very simple. Just start by respecting yourselves. The day women start respecting themselves, understand their priorities and what they are worthy of, trust me, everyone will start doing it to you. As a woman, the onus is on me to make sure that my idea, value, and opinions do make a difference. It is the same for all of us. We always talk of equality in everything, but it is time we tell the world that we are looking for equality in terms of right opportunities, the equal opportunity, and not in terms of our physical abilities. It is always in terms of our mental ability. Okay, how do I take a little me time on a daily basis? And it's a very simple answer. All that I do is I just do what my heart and my mind wants me to do. Being born to very broad-minded parents, we pretty much had the freedom to do many things, to explore many things, which many of my friends did not have. They almost yearned for it. My parents always respected our individuality. This is that one thing I have learned to do with my children too. So to all the dear women out there, start by respecting yourself. Pay more attention to yourself and make your living worthwhile. With this, I wish every one of us a very happy Women's Day.
So while Shilpa is of the opinion that self-respect and equal opportunities is the way to go, Priya thinks that empowerment is about accepting oneself and not seeking external validation.
Okay, so what's empowerment for me? Empowerment for me, I think it's a personal journey. It's about accepting the uniqueness of oneself and not seeking any kind of external validation. For me, it is knowing that I'm the one in control, not of everything that happens, but of how I choose to respond. And that, in my personal opinion, makes a lot of difference. So, how do I empower myself, or what are the other favorite things that I do to keep myself empowered? I think one of my most favorite ways to empower myself is by surrounding myself with people who lift me up, the ones who believe in me, even when I doubt myself like crazy. But I think there's one more very important thing. It's also about trusting your own gut, especially when it disagrees with everyone else. In trusting yourself is like absolutely powerful, dude. It's like having your own inbuilt GPS system for life empowerment. I think, in the end, it's also about a mindset that is wrapped in confidence. It's also about waking up every day knowing that life is not going to be a walk in the park, and you've got to have the strength to take it on. So when you have the strength to take it on, you might as well dance a little and see the rainbow and enjoy every moment of it.
Enjoy every moment of it, indeed. Supriya says something similar when she urges every woman to step into her power.
Empowerment. When I hear the word, I feel like it has such a powerful ring to it already. And for a long time, I felt like empowerment was like an external thing. Like you had to be empowered by something from an external source. You know what I mean? I used to host a lot of these corporate radio shows and podcasts. And even in those, we would talk about, how a work culture empowers somebody or a certain policy empowers someone. But as I have evolved, I realize that this empowerment actually is a very internal, intrinsic thing. It's not so much about the external world or what someone else is doing for you, as much as it is what your narrative about yourself is. So, on a daily basis, how do I empower the woman in me? Well, I kind of remind myself when I look in the mirror that I can step into my power. I keep telling my friends as well, all my girlfriends as well, I'm like, just step into your power. Like, we don't realize just how kick-ass we are, right? It's so easy for us to find faults and kind of make the flaws so much bigger than they really are, or just kind of focus on the things that are not right. And I think it also comes from this false sense of perfection that we kind of hold ourselves up to, saying, unless it is perfect, like it's not worth anything. So a lot of changing that attitude or changing that perspective has truly helped me in feeling empowered every single day. And it's not like only when I achieve something, only when something is 100% do I feel like, yeah, I did something. I feel like just that little shift has made things so much better. And I just love spending every day with myself now. So yeah, all I'll say is step into your power. And that's all the empowerment you need from within.
Stepping into your power can mean so many different things to different people. And for Vidya, it means not only having the ability to make choices that shape one's own life, but to go beyond and help others do the same.
To me, empowerment means having the confidence, opportunity, and ability to make choices that shape one's own life, but while also creating an environment where others can do the same. It is about breaking barriers, fostering independence, and ensuring that women's voices are heard and valued. For example, my journey reflects this. Clearing the Indian Civil Services exam and later on being deployed and serving with the CISF across the country reinforced my belief in the importance of women in leadership. And now working with the UN since 2003, I integrate gender considerations into programming, ensuring specifically that women and girls in conflict-affected areas are not just beneficiaries but active participants in shaping solutions. How I do this? I empower women by mentoring young professionals, designing projects with targeted women beneficiaries as a quick impact project officer, and supporting women in my daily life, including those who work for me at my home by ensuring fair wages and a safe and secure working environment. So I really believe that empowerment is a continuous cycle. When we lift others up, we strengthen communities, institutions, and ultimately society as a whole.
Hearing all of these varied experiences of these amazing women and their opinions on empowerment, one thing became clear to me. Empowerment cannot be limited to any one thing. It depends entirely on the experiences that you have had in life. It could be something as simple as being able to call the shots in your day, being able to buy what you want. Or it could be something extremely macro, like being able to help disadvantaged women in finding their power. The one common thread from everyone's experiences is that it comes from within. It is about recognizing that you have the power to affect change. That, to me, is empowerment. Because it's not something that we need from the outside world at all. We already have the power. It's just time for us to recognize it and tap into it. And the more we do that, the more we enable our future generations to step into their power and to lead better lives than we possibly lead today. As I sign off on this episode, I will leave you with a final quote from Bharti, who puts it best.
Drop by drop, the river builds up. So every single drop, every single attempt to empower yourself is a step ahead towards women empowerment.
And with that, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.